PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome, everybody. It's good to be back here on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and for the first time in about a year, we are back doing a prospect watch, breaking down the top prospects for your Vegas Golden Knights here on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. If you go to the website, prconnectionsradio.com, check out all the shows that are on there. We have about a dozen on the network. So I highly recommend to everyone all around the world checking out prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. If you are on the YouTube channel, welcome in. If you like the video and you like what you are seeing, subscribe to the channel and like the video. It's much appreciated. And if you are on the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, I say welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And if you want to leave a comment and turn on notification bell so you don't miss any episode of Vegas Hockey Hub, we upload every single day onto the YouTube channel, Vegas Hockey Hub. So I welcome everybody there. And this is a fun show. This is going to be a lot of fun to talk about as we are doing our Vegas Golden Knights Prospect Watch here on this show, here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And we're going to do something a little different for everyone all around the world. So instead of just doing a simple ranking list, instead of just going, all right, number 1, number 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, instead of just breaking it down like that, what we're going to do is kind of a tier ranking system. So we're going to kind of go from the top, tell you who I believe has the most potential, a guy who is the best of the best when it comes to the prospects for your Vegas Golden Knights. Then we're going to kind of go down in the tier system. We only have 5 for your Vegas Golden Knights. There's only 5 players that are on the tier list for your Vegas Golden Knights. And it's going to be a lot of fun breaking down the Vegas Golden Knights prospects, telling you what you need to know and what you need to remember about when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights and the prospect watch. Now, I understand that with them winning a Stanley Cup, them winning it after their 6 seasons, cup and 6, it makes sense why prospects would be on the back burner for your Vegas Golden Knights. It makes a lot of sense why prospects would not be a focal point for your Vegas Golden Knights. After all, you just won a championship. You just won the most prestigious prize in all of sports, and that is the Stanley Cup. And I will clarify that, yes, the Vegas Golden Knights are aggressive when it comes to trading. And when they do trades, a lot of it involves future draft picks and prospects. So there are 2 players that used to be on here last year that are not on this list this year. The first one is Zach Dean. He was the 2022 first-round pick that the Vegas Golden Knights had. And Zach Dean would get traded to the St. Louis Blues in the Ivan Barbashev deal. So last year, he was on our prospect watch. This year, he is not. And then the second one is Paul Cotter, and that's because he has been promoted to the NHL, so he's no longer considered a prospect. So I will say that when it comes to your prospect watch, I have 2 criteria for you. There are only 2 criteria when it comes to our prospect watch. Number 1, they cannot play more than 40 NHL games. Okay, if they have played less than 40 NHL games, or they have not played an NHL game before, they are on our prospect watch. And then second, if you are over the age of 25. So if you're over the age of 25, you are not on the list either when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights and their prospect watch. So we're going to kick it off by talking about the best prospect, talking about the number 1 prospect for your Vegas Golden Knights, and that is defenseman Lucas Cormier, who was drafted in the 3rd round in 2020. Now, I will say when it comes to Lucas Cormier, I like what he has. I really say that when it comes to Lucas Cormier, he has a lot of potential, and we're going to start out with him. Because when it comes to Lucas Cormier, he has developed pretty well. And despite the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights have a lot of defensemen, in fact, their depth has been defensemen for a good amount of time. But when it comes to Lucas Cormier, his one positive to the Vegas Golden Knights as the best prospect Vegas Golden Knights have, Lucas Cormier is a skilled offensive defenseman. He is someone who can score and score efficiently for your Vegas Golden Knights. Just for example, Lucas Cormier, in his first full season playing professional hockey, he ended up having 10 goals for the Henderson Silver Knights. As you see right here on the screen, Lucas Cormier had 10 goals in 62 games for the Henderson Silver Knights. So it's actually really interesting when you look at a guy like Lucas Cormier. He is a skilled offensive defenseman that the Vegas Golden Knights got out of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And when it comes to Lucas Cormier, a lot of people question, could he continue the production that he had in Charlottetown when he played in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League? Because remember, he had 81 points in 62 games in his final year playing junior hockey. Would he be able to keep that up? Well, first season only having 35 points, averaging about half a point per game, he did pretty well in Henderson. Now, 2 positives when it comes to Lucas Cormier. He is an excellent skater, and he has a great shot. I will also mention that when it comes to pacing, and when it comes to helping the Vegas Golden Knights on both ends, Lucas Cormier is excellent at doing that. He's got a high pace. He is someone who does pretty well at creating opportunities for your Vegas Golden Knights and presenting opportunities, whether in Henderson or in Vegas. One weakness that Lucas Cormier does have, which I will admit, his one weakness is the fact that when it comes to Lucas Cormier, he is not a physical defenseman. And for a guy who's about 5'10", to not be a physical defenseman, for him to being an offensive-minded defenseman, Lucas Cormier is going to have to develop. He's really going to have to progress as a player. But so far, Lucas Cormier has shown, regardless if he is in Henderson or if he had the preseason here in Vegas where he was in the starting lineup in one of the games and actually played alongside guys like Braden McNabb and with Shea Theodore, Lucas Cormier is the best prospect the Vegas Golden Knights have. He is someone who, for right now, is going to start in Henderson. Okay, he's going to begin this upcoming year playing in the AHL. But do not be surprised if Lucas Cormier is eventually promoted and called up to the Vegas Golden Knights. After all, he is the best prospect the Vegas Golden Knights have in their system. He is their top prospect, and he is someone who is definitely going to make the team better when he gets his time to shine. So that is the best prospect. He is in his own tier right now because he is the number 1 prospect. Number 2 on that list, and this is a future star for the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is center David Edstrom, who is a first-round pick in 2013, and he is actually the second youngest guy the Vegas Golden Knights have in their prospect system. So David Edstrom, who played in the Swedish Hockey League, he was drafted with the last pick in the first round of the 2023 first round. And I will point out with David Edstrom, it will be interesting to see how he does in the SHL, but considering the fact that last year, regardless if he was playing in the World Junior Championship or playing in the Swedish Hockey League, it has always been this belief that when he was paired with Otto Stenberg in the Swedish team for the World Juniors, there was an idea that Stenberg was the number 1 and Edstrom was the number 2. But if that was the case, Edstrom was a solid number 2, because not only did he help Sweden get the silver medal at the World Junior Championships for the Swedish under-18 team, but when it comes to Edstrom, his statistics in the World Junior Championships was phenomenal. In 7 games, he had 5 goals and 8 points for Sweden in the World Junior Championship. I also have to point out that when it came to his season playing in the Swedish Hockey League, he had only 11 games, but 4 points during that time. And when he played for the Junior 20 team out there in Sweden, he had 15 goals and averaged a point per game as he was getting drafted into the NHL. So David Edstrom has a lot of potential. There's some good upside with David Edstrom. He's really going to be a future star for the Vegas Golden Knights when he eventually gets his time. He has excellent hockey IQ. He is a good skater. And he actually has a good size. He's about 6'4" for David Edstrom. And I will say, with him being a power forward, somebody who can attack the ice, someone who can generate some offense, I will not be surprised if by the time he's 20, 21 years old, if he is playing on the bottom 6 for your Vegas Golden Knights. This is somebody who is a two-tool player for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a solid passer, excellent shooter. He is someone who's going to play in the SHL this year when he eventually goes to Henderson. When he eventually comes over to North America, he will be a good member of your Vegas Golden Knights. So talking about a future star, we're talking about David Edstrom, who was a first-round pick in 2023. And just to show you real quick something about him, this was what Edstrom did this past year. As you saw Lucas Cormier, here's David Edstrom. And I will point out once again, he has had a lot of teams he has played for in Sweden. Like I said, he played for the under-16 team, he played for the under-18 team, and he played in the World Junior Championships for Team Sweden that won the silver medal. So as we are getting into our prospect pool here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I am your host, Ian Rachiele. So the best prospect was Lucas Cormier, who was a third-round pick in 2020, the 21-year-old who will be starting in Henderson to begin the year. Then you have a future star in center, David Edstrom, the 18-year-old they drafted in the first round in the past NHL draft. Now we have to go to players that have potential. All right, these are guys that I genuinely believe that if they develop properly, if they become the players who I believe they can become, they will have potential to be a Vegas Golden Knight someday. That their future is bright once they make it to Vegas. So Matthew Chatterford, who was an 18-year-old, a guy who slipped in the draft, a steal for your Vegas Golden Knights. He was taken in the 3rd round of this past draft by Vegas. I will mention when it comes to Chatterford, he is the youngest member on this list. So he is actually younger than what Edstrom was. So Edstrom is 18, Chatterford is 18, but he's actually younger. But he has so much raw talent, and he has a lot of potential. I mean, he'll be spending 1 more year playing in Halifax, playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. But so far, he showed that he has potential when it matters most. So not only did he play in Halifax for the last 2 years, and did he go from 17 goals, but to 31 goals from year 1 to year 2, but he went from a whopping 46 goals, 46 points to 75 points in year 1 to year 2. So for a guy like Chatterford to have 46 points in year 1 and then 75 points in year 2, and since the season has already kicked off, he already playing for the Halifax Mooseheads he already has 6 points in 3 games. So not bad to start out the year for Chatterford. And I will mention very quickly when it comes to Chatterford, this is what his stats have looked like at this point in his career. And is the fact that when it comes to him, he is someone who was once again done pretty well in Halifax, as you see on the screen there. And the fact that he went in the 3rd round is insane. The fact that this is a guy who fell in the draft and Vegas was able to pick him up. What an insane steal in Matthew Chatterford. And when he develops and when he eventually or makes his way to North America, he is definitely going to be a great player. When he eventually plays for Henderson, when he eventually goes to the AHL and plays professional hockey, this is something that Chatterford is going to do very well. He is confident. He is a two-way player, and he is a physical guy. He had 66 penalty minutes last year. I won't be surprised if he has more this upcoming year in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And now, the one negative I do have about Matthew Chatterford is his feet. His skating does need a little bit of work, but I believe that can be corrected over time. And I will say, I will not be shocked if he is the steal of all the prospects here for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, players that have potential, Matthew Chatterford is definitely on that tier. Next, you have a guy who's trying to make the opening day roster for your Vegas Golden Knights. And this is someone who a lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans are already familiar with, and that is Pavel Dorofeyev. And I will say for Dorofeyev, man, he has definitely earned his role as a Vegas Golden Knight. Remember, in 2018-2019, he was playing in the KHL out there in Russia. In fact, it wasn't until 2020-2021 that Pavel Dorofeyev even made the jump from the KHL and came to America. And he has played not 1, not 2, but 3 seasons in the AHL. So it took a while for Pavel Dorofeyev to earn his way here into Vegas. But I will point out, he has developed and he has blossomed very well into a good player here in Vegas. And when it comes to Pavel Dorofeyev, he had 7 goals in 18 games last year. And in fact, he had 4 goals in a 5-game stretch for your Vegas Golden Knights last year. I also have to mention in the preseason, he looked confident. He was someone who showed more leadership capabilities and someone who looked good on the top 6 for the Vegas Golden Knights when they did their preseason action earlier this year. And I will mention that when it comes to Pavel Dorofeyev, if he plays in Henderson once again, I would understand it. But I truly believe that when it comes to Dorofeyev, he works hard. He is a hard worker for the Vegas Golden Knights. And he is a scoring machine. Like I mentioned, he had 7 goals in 18 games last year. And in Henderson, which I am going to show you, when it came to Dorofeyev, man, this guy, when it comes to Pavel Dorofeyev, had 27 goals in 2021-2022, and he had 9 goals for the Henderson Silver Knights last year. So for Dorofeyev, who had a combined 16 goals last year in between the AHL and the NHL, this is someone who has a lot of potential and someone who can definitely show that he can be a good up-and-coming guy. So regardless if he is on the bottom 6 in Vegas or if he is on the top 6 in Henderson, he has earned his spot as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. And do not be surprised if he becomes eventually a full-time NHLer. He is only 22 years of age. And then the last guy we are going to be talking about when it comes to players that have potential is center Mateus Sapalev. And this was a second-round pick in 2022, but what a good second-round pick he was for the Vegas Golden Knights. This is somebody who really made his mark during the World Juniors. And for anybody who's not really familiar with the World Juniors, let me tell you what he did. So, in this past World Juniors, he had 7 points in 7 games for the Czech Republic. And not only did he have 7 points in 7 games, but when it came to Matěj Sepalejev, he was somebody that showed up for Czech Republic. And he actually helped them get to a respectable place in the World Juniors this past World Junior Championship for the Czech Republic. And he followed that up by being in the OHL, playing for the Spirit, and having 27 goals and 56 points in 61 games. And that was Matěj Sepalejev. Now, what I will mention about him is that when it comes to his ability to score and being able to generate ability when it comes to scoring and passing and getting opportunities, he's doing pretty well at that. Now, what I will mention about him is him being 19 years old and him being one of the youngest prospects we have here on the Vegas Golden Knights. He is going to spend one more season playing in the Ontario Hockey League for the Spirit. So, regardless of when he eventually makes the jump to the AHL and plays for the Henderson Silver Knights, he is going to spend one more season playing in the OHL and being a member of the Ontario Hockey League. So, to kind of recap and kind of give what we're talking about here, as we are doing our prospect watch here for the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. The best prospect was defenseman Lucas Cormier, who is a 21-year-old coming out of Henderson. This guy impressed in the preseason. He has done pretty well in Henderson, and he is by far going to be one of the best guys the Vegas Golden Knights have in the system. Then you have right below him a future star in center David Edstrom, who they drafted in this past draft in the first round. And him being in the Swedish Hockey League for one more year, it will take time for him to eventually come to the NHL. And then you have players that have potential. You have Matthew Chatterford, who is going to be staying in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, playing in Halifax. You have Pavel Dorofeev, who should be a bottom 6 forward in Vegas, if not a top 6 forward in Henderson. And then you have Matěj Sepalejev, who will be playing in the OHL, drafted in the second round last year. He has a lot of potential. Now, this next part I want to mention very quickly, because when it comes to this list here, these are 5 players who need to develop in Vegas. These are 5 players that have a lot of potential, they have raw talent, but they need to work on certain aspects of their game. These are 5 players that will play a few games in Vegas. I have no doubt about it. But in order for them to become mainstays in Vegas, they have a lot to work on as they head into this upcoming year. So the first one you have on there is the 23-year-old coming out of Henderson, and that is Caden Korzak, their second-round pick from 2019. And I will say with Caden Korzak, we have done a video of him. We did a player profile on Vegas Hockey Hub this past year. And when it comes to Caden Korzak, he has already played a few games for the Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, he has played 11 career games in the NHL, just a bit below what my criteria is, so he's still a prospect. But what I'll say about Caden Korzak, as you've seen what he has done, I mean, in Henderson, it seems like he kind of has been a little bit stagnant when it comes to Henderson. I mean, in about 97 games he has played as a Henderson Silver Knight, 2 goals, 22 assists for only 28 points as a member of the Henderson Silver Knights. I also have to mention that he has a -7 and about 88 penalty minutes with Caden Korzak. And I will mention that when it comes to him, he isn't aggressive at taking shots. The one negative I have about him is that offensively, he doesn't show much. But what he is positive at is that he competes every single day. He is a physical defenseman. And when it comes to Caden Korzak, he will be a guy that will be similar to Zach Whitecloud. He is going to be a third pairing defenseman in the NHL, but that's okay. Not everybody can be a top line defenseman or have potential to be a top line defenseman like Lucas Cormier is. But when it comes to Kaedan Korczak, he will be either a top line defensive pairing in the AHL or a third line defensive pairing in the NHL. So as you've seen him out there in Henderson right there, and then what he was doing in Vegas this preseason, I do want to mention very quickly what he has done throughout his career, as you see right here. When it comes to Kaedan Korczak playing for the World Junior Championships for Team Canada as the under 18 and under 20, and once again, he did good defensively, but only 2 points in 14 games while playing for Team Canada. But he still has potential. He has upsides, you see there, with Kaedan Korczak. And the other guy that you have, and the guy I have right below him, is the first-round pick from 2020, and that is Brendan Brisson, the guy who took the number from Riley Smith out there in the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. Brendan Brisson had a phenomenal preseason. He turned heads in the preseason. But what Brendan Brisson needs to work on, and something that a lot of people have pointed out, is that he does not skate well. He really needs to work on his feet. And I will say that when you watch him play, regardless of in Henderson or in the preseason, his lack of foot speed, it is noticeable. The way he has to try to get back from defense to offense, he struggles on that as well. But the two positives Brendan Brisson has is that he is an elite scorer. You know, he is a goal scorer. He is someone who could put the puck in the back of the net. No one can take that away from Brendan Brisson. I mean, this is somebody who last year in Henderson had 18 goals in the AHL. This is after coming off a 21-goal season playing for Michigan in college hockey. So for Brendan Brisson, he can score, but I question the defense and his skating ability when it comes to Brendan Brisson. That's why he's down here. You also have Arttu Karkki, the 18-year-old who also was a steal for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was taken in the third round of this upcoming draft that just happened. And I will say when it comes to Karkki, he is someone who is a steal by the Vegas Golden Knights. He has a good release. He's skilled with the puck. And for a guy who's 6'2", he did pretty well this past year, averaging over a point per game in Finland. Now, the one thing I have to say negatively about him, though, is that when it comes to defensively, he could be passive at times. And I also think that when it comes to NHL forwards, they will take advantage of that every single time. So when it comes to Arttu Karkki, he has potential. He is someone who could be a steal for the Vegas Golden Knights. But until he develops as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, and until he even moves over to the NHL, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Once again, playing in Finland and being part of the St. Marie Greyhounds of the OHL, he is someone who's definitely going to have to take time to develop. As you see there, he signed for the Sioux Greyhounds of the OHL. I wish him well. And then the last two players that you have on here, you also have Daniel Chaka, who came from the KHL, someone who I will say definitely needs to develop. He does take some penalties that are all definitely unfortunate. And I will mention with Daniel Chaka, he is someone who I look at and go, you know what? If he can eventually become this next level type of guy, I think that would be great. And then you have somebody in Joe Fleming who showed out in preseason, actually did well during the rookie faceoff. And I will say for Joe Fleming, he is a physical defenseman. He's willing to drop the gloves. He is physical, and I like that about Joe Fleming. So when we're doing our prospect watch here for the Vegas Golden Knights, we will recap one more time. So the best prospect, defenseman Lucas Cormier, a future star in David Edstrom. Players that have potential is Matthew Chatterford, Pavel Dorofeev, and Mateus Sepaleyev. And then the 5 players who need to develop are Caden Korzak, Brendan Bryson, Artu Karki, Daniel Chaka, and Joe Fleming. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with our system and with our tier list we have here. And until next time on Vegas Hockey Hub, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go!